I'm missing something here. Did they turn it down and then we disconnected?
What's funny? We
got an email back.
We're gonna.
There was some feedback.
Go ahead and call the meeting to February 22nd meeting of the Development District. We will begin with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I've been advised we have a forum. The first item is approval of the agenda, and I have a request to add an item to that under local government services, purchasing some equipment for the Safe Streets for All program. I would entertain a motion to approve the amended agenda as I just described.
That's eating, so I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mayor. Do we have a second? Brian, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item we have for consideration is consideration of the minutes of the January meeting. Have a change of reviews. Get a motion.
Motion approved.
Thank you, Mayor.
I wasn't here. I'll second it.
Second, Judge. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving into the administrative section, Mr. Cottingham, do you have an ethics?
It is a clean.
That's kind, sir. Appreciate your service. Moving on to consent agenda, play us a couple items. The first one is a request for disposal of outdated, broken, or out of warranty equipment.
Yes, everyone's welcome to you so that we can get equipment off of our inventory and disposed of if necessary. Sometimes we do repurpose the old hardware, say for like our EC program, and other things like that. So you will notice a few of the Surface Pro 7s on here. Those are a little bit newer. The reason that they're on here is they were defective in some way. We went through our warranty process to replace them free of charge, and those things are out and about. So we're just getting these services off of our books.
Good. Any questions for Clay? If not, entertain a motion to approve the disposal of the outdated IT.
I'll make that motion.
Second, couple there's one. Bill. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Clay, keep on going. You're talking about network cabling.
Yeah, we're gonna do some, kind of before we get this room situated, we're gonna get some, new networking equipment put up and begin wiring to go around, through the building. While the structured cabling people were out, bidding for that, they noticed, that we have a whole bunch of, old analog cable running throughout the building, and advised that we go ahead and get rid of that as well. So we went out and got a few bids for that. As you can see, Structured Technology came in the cheapest for not only the cabling of the building for the new access points, but also the removal of the old basic cable.
Very good description. Questions for Clay about this?
I noticed there was a bid for IT closet refresh. Was that, we're not gonna do that?
Yeah, I just feel like that right now. That was just them. They were gonna just make it look real nice and pretty. I would like that, but I think we can do that ourselves probably.
Okay.
Appreciate your statement. Good question. Any other questions?
Budget, this is all budget, and I take it, all right?
Yes. That a motion?
That's a motion.
That's what I like. Do we have a second? Second, Mayor. You got a question for Clay? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Clay. Lance, you're up with the financial results.
Senior fund. For this on the impulse, we can see the already first. We look at our revenues, we have expenses, we have had an increase of 14% in both categories from this time last year. We have had a revenue of $18.2 million. 55% of that is going to be state money, federal funding, and then clean out between funds and others and local. Our cash balance as of December 31st is $3.8 million. That's an increase of $9.7 million from last year. And then our account paper balance is at $3.9 million. That is a decrease of $1.1 million from this time last year. So essentially, we have less people. And then our payable balance is at $5 million. That is just the platinum fee. Next page on this. Today, can be what's work. Workforce. Really what this program is Innovation Opportunity Act. Way that we get. So you can see there that this is 1% of our budget at about $256,000. And some of the program goals is filling the employer pipeline, increasing the number of employers willing to hire recovery clients, employing clients with barriers, and creating a lasting collaborative. We currently have 13 recovery clients. Seven of those are currently working. 4 of those are deciding on a career path, and 2 are enrolling in career training services. So through December 31st, we have used about 20% of that budget. Good program that we have going, and we can hope for continued success.
Is this a life learning center project? Is that where we're running this out of?
We have different partners. Corey Carroll made.
I would just add that our staff is running it, but in partnership with Life Learning Center and the Career Center. So we have staff that are directly working on it. It's a growth from another partnership that we have with St. Elizabeth and Life Learning Center called Lift Up. And our staff saw a need to have additional flexible dollars. And so we're able to apply the state reserve fund to be able to meet a few of the needs that weren't being covered by some of the other groups they had.
Thank you.
And the next page is the consolidated statement of account. And as I mentioned before, we did have $18.2 million in revenue. That's up 14% from this time last year. And it's exceeding our budgeted amount, 1% of our total revenue. We have $15.3 million in expenses, which is up to 14% from this time last year. And that leaves us with excess funds currently of $2.9 million. And that's just up $400,000 from this time. Does anybody have any questions for me? This motion?
It's their report, if not, but they can move to the financial report. Thank you like that. Second by Carol. All the questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks. All right, now Chris Courtney is going to give us the local government services update, and then also has action item.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I think that's a fact table here, it'd be a one pager for my full division update. And slide to hand those out, so. Have the difference. I'm not going to read the whole update, so I'm going to highlight a few things. The Municipal Government League of Northern Kentucky met on January 30th. At that meeting, we elected a president, a vice president, and a treasurer. Those are President Mayor Hamburg, Vice President Mayor Dr. Julie Okerchon and Treasurer Paul, Mayor Paul Meyer from Crestview Hills. So congratulations to those for your service on that. The next meeting is Tuesday, April 30th. So you can save that date of your calendar. That'd be great. Next, as far as meetings go, the next regional transportation meeting is March 5th at 11 a.m. If you're supposed to be at that meeting, you have already received the save the date and the agenda from Jeff Phelan. And then following that meeting is the Water Management Council meeting. If you're supposed to be at that meeting, you've already received the save the date and the calendar like that as well. For those who are supposed to go to that meeting and you can't make it, you might want to change your plans because we're going to be serving Chick-fil-A. So just say that. Right, to increase attendance. Next thing, congratulations to our warehouse and commodities team led by Amy Gosser. They completed their annual audit from the Department of Agriculture in January. The audit came back with a score of 100% rating, meaning that all food items were present and accounted for. Put that into perspective. Warehouse commodities team has 2 federal programs. One, the Emergency Assistance Program, also known as TFAP, and the Commodity Supplemental Food Program, also known as CFAP. There were 12,800 cases in TFAP and 45,610 units in CFAP, and all of those were handled accurately. So congratulations to them. They did a great job over there at the warehouse. Last but not least, the ADF committee met in early February. The actual items from that meeting is that staff is directed to develop such items as the ADF application, a scoring criteria, and the timeline. That's my update.
Thanks. You have any questions for Chris? All right, if not, you're going to talk to us about forklift RFPs.
All right.
So,
Like, can you zoom into the prices real quick if you can, that document? Just a little bigger. Approximately 2 years ago, a great opportunity arose. At the time, the staff applied for the grant in the order to obtain a reach truck in order to better process deliveries and move product. So for those who don't know what a reach truck is, it's very common at a warehouse. It's a vehicle. It has 4 wheels and it is used for the package handler to go up and down next to the racks and be able to reach the box, put it on a pallet jack, and bring it down and go to the next one. So that is what you reach truck. However, since then, we've had some turnover at the warehouse. It's new managers and some part-time workers who have kind of conveyed to me that we probably not really the best use for that money. Maybe we can see if we can get a forklift instead. So we put in a request to change that part of the grant from a reach truck to a forklift. The reason being because a forklift can do everything that a reach truck can do at our warehouse because our racks are not that tall, going at 3 levels. A reach truck would be more used for if it's higher than that, the 4th level or 5th level. So the forklifts can reach that 3rd level, bring the product down, and then also put it into the truck. Whereas the reach truck can just pull it down and cannot put it into the back. So there would be an extra step there. So they asked if we could change that, got approved for that. And so then I asked them to go get some quotes and some bids for me to look at. Those 4 bids came back right here on the screen. My team at the warehouse and commodities team chose the one that's highlighted, which is above the thresholds. So now what we're seeking here is approval from the board to do an RFP to solicit and advertise according to our guidelines.
That number, that 30,000 number, is that by the board or is that by the new standards for the state of Kentucky?
What a great question. It is, as of today, it is by the board, and we talked earlier about updating that number to meet the new Kentucky number so that for $360.45 more, we're not having to go through an RFP process. But yeah, currently the board number is 30,000. That's why it's being brought to the board.
I make a motion that we do an RFP for the forklift.
I think the board.
I got another offer on the table.
Okay.
In my opinion, since it's a board rule, I would be comfortable if the board were to waive that requirement. Joe's nodding along. Yes. Cottingham, and therefore.
We've done extensive research.
So I am comfortable with the dual motion of in this particular instance, waiving that board RFP limit and outright just purchasing this forklift and being done.
And I'll make that motion with a step further that we update our procurement policy to go to $40,000.
We are planning, Mayor, on working and proposing to you in the coming months.
Okay.
That would update our entire administrative regulation book.
Okay, that's my
Can I
motion.
ask a question? We're going with the 30,000 instead of the 27,000 because the 27,000 was so grossly under our specs that the 30,000 was a much better machine than the $27,000 machine.
The committee that we formed to look at these quotes chose that one for several reasons. There were additional safety items on this forklift, and also the forks. So we look at that forklift, it's the forks. They were longer than the other three, which is better for when you're driving the forklift that goes through the skid all the way. If you are just short, you can break this skid and then damage the product. So these, that is the two determining factors why
I figured it was. I just wanted you to say it.
Tell Bill did some work and read his board back ahead of time, so appreciate it. So trying to keep score here, I believe we have a motion on the floor to waive the board rule and purchase this forklift and move on. We have a second from Mayor Christopher. Any further questions? That will call it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And I get a point of clarification. It sounds like something changed. What is it, the state raised the limit?
The state ranked it from 30 to 40,000.
Okay.
Effective July 1st of last year.
It was 20 for the longest time, and then they moved it to 30, and then July was passed. It would be, yeah. All right, but we're now proud of it. And then the additional item we added to the agenda earlier is request for approval to purchase safe streets for all equipment. So Chris, you can describe that.
Absolutely, thank you. As part of the Safe Streets for All grant, the added required to purchase specific equipment for a data collection phase of the grant. This equipment will be used by ad staff and designated county public works staff to collect data on identified unsafe streets, roadways, intersections, and other areas. The Safe Streets for All action plan. The staff is requesting approval from the board of directors to spend up to $12,000 in order to acquire the required equipment for the Safe Streets for All grant. An itemized list is below the appropriate prices for each item.
And the key thing about all these, they are paid for from the grant. Questions for Chris? It's not an entertained motion to purchase this equipment so we can keep moving on the Safe Streets for All.
Motion approved.
Motion Mayor Hamburger, a second.
I just have a question.
Sure.
Do we have an idea of where these are going to be collected? The data is going to be collected. Is there a strategic place that you already have in mind?
Yes, so we met with the counties on this, and there are existing, already known unsafe roadways. If you like to recommend one, you can email it to me, I'll make sure it's on there. But this equipment be used, mounted equipment on a vehicle to basically drive that intersection of road for the purpose of putting that area, that road in the action plan for future funding implementation plan.
So there's already a pretty detailed mapped out location of where these are going to go. That's all I need to know.
Be added to it.
Yeah.
If I remember, this is a planning grant, so the purpose of this phase is to get all these bad streets into a document, and then you can take that document and get everybody. Yeah.
And just to add, a lot of it's because of the data from the collision reports that are reported to the state. So that's where the bulk of the unsafe roads is coming from, not just people complaining.
I'll second the motion.
We have a second. Any questions? Good discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chris. Oh, now we're on to the executive director's report. Tara, take it away.
Okay, I need to grab, oh, it's right here. Perfect. We are moving quick, which is great because I have an activity planned for all of you at the end of my presentation today. Did just want to cover a couple of updates since we did have a little extra time, just to kind of let you know what I've been working on and make sure that you have a chance to ask questions. And so one of the things we haven't had, well, this came up in conversation a couple of weeks ago after the last board meeting. Sometimes if we don't have a direct action item for all of you, we don't always present, hey, these are just things that are moving forward, you know, if even expenses that we might have around communications, you know, I sent out a survey about, you know, how do you think your residents and employers best receive information? You're receiving requests for payment on large expenses, but sometimes we're actually buying, you know, ads or radio or something like that, but it just doesn't hit the threshold where you would need to approve it. So I'm going to try to do a better job of letting you all know about things that are going on that maybe they just don't require your approval, so that you're aware of that. And so just a couple today. Obviously, there's tons of things happening in these walls every minute. But I did want to let you know, this is something that came up, gosh, probably it's been going on for like 2 years now. And Corey's here today, which is great, if you do have questions. So our workforce team has a number of programs, and all of them are designed, just generally speaking, to connect job seekers and employers to one another. Some of them are focused on the job seeker side, maybe removing barriers, access to training, different sorts of things on that. Some of them are focused on the employer side, helping employers with best practices and so forth. A couple of years ago now, we became the backbone entity, the term we've used, for GROW NKY, which was previously housed at the Northern Kentucky Chamber. And we were asked to be that backbone for a short period of time. Yes, it was 2 years ago when we were asked to be that backbone entity while there was some study and decision-making going on about where should that live long-term. Historically, it's been a primarily Boone, Kenton, and Campbell thing. Like I said, it was based at the Northern Kentucky Chamber. We have, since that time, really been functioning with it being 8 counties, really, and incorporated it, and I'll try to align it as best as we can with all of the Workforce Investment Board and Career Center operations and bringing in partners. And so I just wanted to give you all a very quick update. We still do not have any governing language. We don't have an MOU. We're not quite there yet, so this might be a little premature. But I did just want to let this board know that it looks like the Area Development District will be asked to be the permanent home of that initiative. There would be admin, you know, dollars that would be coming from that. And by having that here, even if it is, you know, only 3 counties or however it ends up, that will mean alignment can take place to make sure that we are thinking regionally about workforce, and that it can best leverage all of the federal dollars, state dollars, et cetera, that are happening. And then we can make sure best practices are occurring for our employers and job seekers across the 8 counties. So I just wanted to let you all know, we're still working on it. We haven't forgotten. We meet actually all the time about it. And that I do think that there will be a resolution that we'll be able to bring to this board for some kind of agreement in probably the next few months. So just wanted to provide that update since it had been a while since we had that conversation. Does anyone have any questions about that? Okay.
Is there any revenue sources identified?
Yes. So we have already, thank you, great question. We have already received one grant. It's another one of those WIOA statewide reserve. Lance mentioned in his finance report, he's been doing those highlights. The Work for Success program received, so the way the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act that WIOA works is it comes from the federal government, the Department of Labor, comes to the state, and then there's kind of two things that happen with the money. One are formula dollars based on population, unemployment rate, poverty, that kind of thing, that each workforce area, there's 10 in the state, get formula funds. We don't have any control over how much we get. It's just based on those factors. And then the rest of the money, some goes to the state for their, operations administration. And then they get to pull money aside into this kind of innovation pot of money. They call it the statewide reserve. And then we can apply for innovative ideas. And so we applied for Work for Success. We've also applied for GROW, is the name of the initiative at the moment, and received those funds. And Corey, can you help me with how much was in that grant?
164,000
Great. So over 2 years.
over 2 years, yeah, so roughly 82 a year.
Yeah, and then we are not probably quite ready, but yes, other funds have been, potential funds have been identified that would then go on top of those, but those have already been received. Yeah. Great question. Any other questions? Okay. Once that's totally figured out and you all are able to look at any kind of MOU, we'll make sure that Corey is on the agenda to provide a full explanation of what the final new look of this organization will be. Okay, housing. The ad staff, mostly myself and Katie Jo Kirkpatrick, internally, and then many partners externally, are continuing to work on and analyze the data from the NKY housing data study that was finished and released in September. This is just your reminder that if you would like us to come either one-on-one or talk to a group about either the regional data or the county specific data, there's even though it says county profiles, if you look, all the GIS data comes down to like employment of and city levels. We're happy to have those conversations with you. I know we've already presented to Florence. We've presented to a few of the fiscal courts. I'm sure I'm going to miss somebody. We have a whole list, but happy to do that. Also, during those conversations of places that have invited us, the inevitable next question is, with the data, well, what are you going to do about these findings, right? And I personally am only going to probably be sharing more data and facilitating. But it was clear from all the conversations that people are looking for solutions, right? Data-driven ideas about what might be next. So a few things. One, we have been trying to support those counties that have asked, that are updating their comprehensive plans right now, and to talk with them about ways that they might incorporate some of this data into those. We can do that in every county. If you want us, just let us know. The other thing is that it really seems important, at least to me, that we make sure that we're engaging the private sector, as well as the public sector and the nonprofit community. We've heard from a lot of nonprofit partners that they want to provide support in the housing space, but they feel like that they need some assistance in really seeing where to invest their dollars and their resources and staff time. So in partnership with, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 different partners, Laura, we put together this, for lack of a better word, coalition. Working group might be better, think tank, I'm not sure exactly what we should call this thing, but a group of content experts from private, public, and nonprofit sectors to really dive into key elements of this data and think about a menu of resources, a menu of best practices that communities might be able to use to address this problem, because we know it's very complex. There's not going to be one, silver bullet, if you will. And it's not going to be the same solution for every one of our communities. It's just not. It's going to have to be unique. So we think that by creating a menu of opportunities that then any community might be able to pick and choose from, whether that's new development, trying to maintain existing income aligned housing that fits with their workforce and their community needs. Policy or financing opportunities, whether those are federal or state dollars, or maybe creating something new. And then thinking about the awareness and community engagement component, which is certainly a barrier as well, that maybe we can help better align the availability of and diversity of housing opportunities in our region with the jobs that we have and the people that are currently hoping to live here. So I just wanted you to know those meetings are ongoing. The steering committee is actually meeting tomorrow, and there are a number of committees. If anyone, I hope that I reflected enough that everyone and anyone is welcome. If you want to engage, please let me know and we will get you engaged. Everyone currently who is engaged, they just said, hey, hands up, I'd like to participate. So if you're wanting that, or you just want to be on the list to get emails to kind of see and follow along, any level of engagement is welcome. And otherwise, I'll just keep you updated in this group, which is also fine. But just wanted you to know that that was what was going on and make sure everybody felt good about that. The idea is that the menu, if you will, would be finished by the end of this year. We'll have a convening in May 7th. And I'll make sure that I'll invite the full board in case you just want to see kind of where it's going with, again, the final outcomes by the end of the calendar. Question?
I think, that's awesome. Thank you for leading that work. I think it's critical work. I think we all know that like there's just not enough housing period in the region to continue to grow the way that we want to. So I'm very proud to be on the board and that the ad is facilitating the leadership through a lot of these challenges. So I would encourage you to continue to meet with local leaders over, throughout 2024, then to look towards implementation of that. Because a document like that that's created, I think would be valuable, very, very valuable for a lot of different communities. And it's not necessarily going to be evergreen.
Right.
Right. So like if some of those tools in the toolbox that you're presenting are funding opportunities that exist to draw down federal funds or something that is going to help develop harder to develop housing or sites or brownfield or whatever, that funding is not always going to be available. So my question is, do you have any plans or maybe a recommendation to kind of keep in somebody's role at the ad or some maybe at the ad, right? Have to take their recommendation or a partnership organization to ensure that 2 years from now, that document is still relevant, right? That we don't want to do great work over this 12-month period. It's a really, like, if you even look through the housing study, it's extraordinary. The information that's in there is really, really big. And so now we're doing the hard work of going to our communities and making it real and for them. And we don't want that to sit on a shelf, right? So I would just encourage you as over the next 12 months, as you're thinking about how this gets utilized, also how does it get updated, right? Like what is the step 24, 48 months from now to ensure that it continues to be a useful tool?
Okay. I will admit, we're mostly focused on today, so it's a good reminder to think the sustainability side of it moving forward. Yeah.
You and I shared a committee.
While ago.
Was that Vision 2015?
It was the next one.
The next one? Skyward? Whatever, Skyward. Tara and I chaired a housing committee talking about these exact conversations in like.
Was that 10 years ago?
It was like 10 years ago. So that's part of my point and part of my perspective is like, these issues aren't going to go away, right? To your point, we're not going to solve them with a silver bullet. And so I think having an idea and a strategic eye towards longevity of how we know that this is going to be an ongoing challenge for our region. How do we ensure that this is a sustainable solution, not only now, but 2 years, 4 years, 6 years?
I think we already have a mechanism that we update every year on this, to really girl on.
So maybe we
Yeah.
embed that.
And so then it is.
Yeah.
In our infrastructure of county development, which probably.
Great point.
So we already have mechanism ready, and so you see your, they incorporate that.
Good call. Other questions? Awesome. Thank you. Before I do my legislative update, I did have just a couple of other things that I should have made a slide for. One is communication. You might remember about 18 months ago when I first started standing up here, I said that my focus points were going to be communication, collaboration, and customer service. I kind of imagined at first that that would be kind of my first year and then we would come up with other things. But honestly, I think those are going to be the focus points for a really long time because they're really, really vital to what we do. And it's, I think it's an ongoing work in progress. But I did just want to remind you that we did start a newsletter in regards with our communication efforts. And we have started putting in the newsletter every grant that we know about. They're at the bottom, so you got to scroll through. So this is your friendly reminder to, first of all, check out the newsletter. If it's going to your spam filter, please try to hit that not junk thing so it goes to the inbox. And also, if you have someone else on your team or a partner that you think, oh, I want this person to know about all these grants, they can sign up on the website under publications, I believe. And so, or you can just email me or Katie Jo and we'll get you signed up. So if you're not getting it or your cohorts are not getting it, please let us know and we will rectify that situation. But we had about a 30% read rate, which is great. But just as we know that we're hearing feedback that people want to know more about available grants and available programs and so forth, just a friendly reminder that those are being captured in the monthly newsletters. And then also, speaking of communication and collaboration, our regional hazard mitigation plan has been submitted to the state. It's in your local government services handout, but I just wanted to remind you that if you would like anyone to come and present, we will need every single jurisdiction to adopt it. That's part of the FEMA rules. So it goes to the state, then it goes to FEMA, but you can go ahead and start adopting it at the local level. And there's some language in there that if there's like a slight tweak of FEMA, that it just sort of automatically updates. So if you need somebody to come and explain it, can do that. Otherwise, if you just want to do it on your own, I think she sent every jurisdiction model language that you can adopt to. So we don't have to come and take up time, but if you want us to, and get more in depth. Some communities have active projects, for example, if you want to have somebody come and talk about it, we are very happy to do that. So just want to reiterate that because it has been a long time coming and we are so grateful for all of the engagement because with the new FEMA rules, there were points awarded for engagement from every single community. So we just want to say thank you to rising to that new challenge and really, I think it's a very powerful document that has been created. Okay. So I was asked to talk about the legislature and the General Assembly. And so there's a handout that Katie Jo is going to put out. This is a document that was created not by me, but the Kentucky Council of Area Development Districts. And it captures the elements that are in the budget or that we hope are going to be in the budget related to the functioning of area development districts. And so today I just wanted to give you very quickly an overview so that you have this document and you know things that we're looking for in the budget include joint funding administration dollars, JFA. That is the money that helps Chris and all the local government services team and Katie Jo with the SEDS and all that. That's the money that helps make that stuff happen. And so currently it was in the House version at the amount that we were hoping. And so we're working through Casey Ellis, who's the executive director of the Council of NKADD. He's working to maintain hopefully that same level in the Senate. Kentucky Infrastructure Authority, we are looking for an increase, not a huge increase, but a slight increase in the amount of funding that goes to KIA that helps our teams do water and sewer planning. And so we think that we could be better enabled to do that and to do a better job if the network overall, we have a contract with KIA. And we did an overview of the real cost of doing that work. And every year the ads are actually kind of losing money. I mean, in terms of just how the allocation works. So it's a slight increase that's being requested to actually account for the cost of doing all that water and sewer cleaning. Aging, there are a few things, especially meals that we're looking for in the budget. The current amount is 14 million per year. The governor actually only requested 10 million, and we're trying to understand exactly why, but 10 million was in the House version of the budget, and the cabinet assures us that 10 million would be sufficient to, because they can move funds around. We're like trying to figure out if maybe we actually do 14, because we are held accountable for not having any waiting lists by the cabinet. So that's why that question is so very, very important. If they want us to have no waiting list, we want to make sure it's funded appropriately so that we're not caught in this sort of catch-22 of, wait a second, there's not enough money, but yeah, we have to provide everyone. So, Washington, yes.
So I think the House dropped that to 6.
Yeah, oh, did they? Okay, well, we definitely need at least 10. Or not everyone is gonna have. So, waiver, just want to let you all know, we're having ongoing conversations with Senator Meredith and Representative Mosier. This is actually not only budgetary, but also some of the regulatory components of the Medicaid waiver program that is administered through Ann's team. And we'll continue to make sure that just some of those regulations are handled in a way that we think best serves our clients by the cabinet. So we'll keep you updated on that. And then workforce, there's actually no state funding for any of the things that we do in workforce other than just them administering the federal dollars. And so for the first time ever, there is a joint ask amongst all the workforce investment boards, specifically in the area of young adults and disconnected young adults. So in Northern Kentucky alone, we have over 5,000 is the estimate, 16 to 24-year-olds who are not working and are not. We can afford to leave behind those kinds of numbers when we know about the talent shortages that we have and just the quality of life of those individuals long-term. We have to figure out a way to reach them. So this asked $26 million ask by all the workforce investment boards would target young adults in a more effective and flexible way than the current federal dollars allow. So that's what those asks are. Currently, there's nearly 1,000 bills filed between the House and Senate, 639 in the House and 244 in the Senate. When I made this PowerPoint the night before last, so there's probably more now. The deadline is coming up for filing of new bills. Like I said, we're primarily looking at the budget. There's just a handful that we're watching. House Bill 532 would provide some relief to small special purpose governmental entities, SPGEs. There's a lot of regulatory rules about auditing for even very, very, very small SPGEs. We're getting calls that small entities are getting almost like fired by their auditors because they're so small. It's not really in the auditor's benefit to do their audits. And so they get caught behind this. They can't find an auditor, but yet they're responsible to the state for providing an audit. So there's a bill that would give a little bit of relief to very small entities. Potentially some changes to Open Records Act that would potentially require all of you to get an NKADD email address for any correspondence that we would send to you, which is potentially a huge cost, just so you know. Clay's looking at me like, what? So that is something that we're watching. There's a rural water bill that would change the Cleaner Water Initiative to only a loan program, whereas right now it's a grant program. So we're watching that on your behalf. I did just want to point out House Bill 30 would provide some attention and resources to veterans suicide prevention. And I mention this specifically because
I don't recall, I think it was KACO or KLC, one of them is kind of helping a local elected official move this bill because it's a passion of his. And I wanted to mention this, if there is something that you all are watching, we can put it in, we have the access through the Council of Ads or a bill tracker. And so if there's something that you would like for me to enter into the bill tracker, just so we can keep updated and get notices if something changes with it, please let me know. And we can do that. I mean, we don't do a lot of lobbying, but we can monitor things and just see what happens. And let you know, so that that's something off your plate. So just let me know that. There's also a new Senate Bill 26 that would establish the Medicaid Oversight and Advisory Committee. So with all of our Medicaid work, we want to just kind of see what's happening with that. And then there's another House or Senate bill that would change some training for open records. So anyway, any questions about that stuff? Cool. Okay, this is perfect amount of time, Mr. Chair. If I can keep going, we're going to talk about the strategic plan. As I promised last month when Jody Youngquist was here and talking about the CERDI assessment, I would keep you updated on a monthly basis about the creation of our strategic plan. And so this kind of gives you an overview of where we are in the process. We've had stakeholder input, we've had board discussion. You should have all received the CERDI final report. I sent that out, but if you haven't seen it, let me know and I'll resend it. There was a board ranking opportunity of priority that the 6 recommendations that were in the CERDI report. Everybody had a chance to rank where we found those to be the most important. And so today we're on point 5, so a little bit more than halfway done. Again, board staff discussion. So I'm going to walk you through where we are, and then you have a chance to provide some input in our little fun activity. So I know you can't read this. I have a next slide, but I just wanted to show you that we did get some insights. So thank you to all of you that about a third of the board completed the survey and ranked those 6 recommendations. So thanks to Caroline for recommending that, because I think it was helpful to have everybody kind of take a chance to rank them. And so here's what they came up with. So the top priority from that exercise was develop, communicate, and implement clear and distinct programs of work for the region, for the northern counties, for the southern counties, just to make sure that we're best serving all. And there's so much more detail about every one of these recommendations in the CERDI. This is kind of a shorthand sentence, right? There's a page for each one of them. Second was develop and host an annual local government briefing and work sessions that would be tied to all of our program areas. That goes right into the spirit of collaboration that we've been really trying to foster, so we're excited about that one. 3, develop and implement a comprehensive board orientation program. You guys just got your binders, but we can absolutely do that probably in October. So like right after any new citizen members are brought on, would be a good time to do that. So we'll do that in the fall. Fourth was establish board standing committees that would more strongly tie member engagement to the work that we're doing. The 5th highest vote getter was staff attending more community meetings and events to make sure we're increasing that communication between us and our communities. And then board restructure came in again 6, not saying it wasn't important. The other things more so is more urgent, less so than this not being important. So based on those 6 items that CERDI came up with, and then looking at your all's rankings, I grouped these into 3 categories. One being board operation, the second being internal resources and staffing, and the third being programmatic operations. I will take an opportunity to add here. There are a couple of items under internal resources and staffing that I feel like need to be in our strategic plan. And so I've taken the liberty of adding those that they weren't in the CERDI recommendation. So we have about 9 things total, even though there were 6 items in the CERDI recommendation. So then, I know this is a little small, don't worry, there's a blowout in the next 3 slides. So you can see we've got 3 items each under board operations, internal resources and staffing, and programmatic operations. So here, board operations will be first. Katie Jo told me that there was no way anybody could read the main one, so that's why so thank you, Katie Jo, for helping us all see. So under board operations, based on the priorities and the ranking exercise, we would have a development of the board orientation in year one. Started thinking about it, and it really doesn't make sense to change our standing committees if we're then going to restructure the board, because then we would just have to do it again. So that's why I've got year two, beginning the restructure, and really that would include, restructuring the board year two, and then establishing the standing committee, year three, following the board rework, because otherwise that just doesn't make sense. So that would be the board operations concepts, internal staffing and resources, or internal resources staffing. Year one, really making sure we're aligning our capacity and staffing and skills with what you all are saying that you care about. So do we have enough people, and do we have the right resources to actually do the things that you've said are important for us to be doing? And then year two, to George's point, identifying and developing potential new funding streams if we need to, in order to accomplish some of the goals that we're hearing then in all those feedback sessions that you're looking for, or where would those come from, or those state dollars, or those federal grants, whatever the case may be. And some of those might be for us, and some of them actually might be just directly for you all to be able to have access to new dollars. And then third year would be implementing a new customer relationship management app. And if you're not familiar with a CRM, imagine today we have a global email list, but it doesn't track with our calendars. It doesn't track with who's doing what. So I'm going to pick on Mayor Christopher for a second. So if I talk to Mayor Christopher about something going on in Williamstown, and then the next day Corey calls him to talk about workforce situation, we don't have anything that's showing those dynamic relationships and how all of their work is interplaying. So it's going to be better customer service for Mayor Christopher if Corey can go in and look and say, who's talked to him in the last week, month, 6 months, and be able to identify any number of things that he might want to talk about when he reaches out. So that's what we want to accomplish through the CRM. And that's going to take some funding that we don't currently have. So that's why it's in year three. And then finally, programmatic operations. This is where the bulk of the starting recommendations fall. Developing, communicating, and implementing clear and distinct programs of work, right? That was the top vote getter. So that would be year one. Year 1 to 2 would be doing those local briefings. And we start them in year one, but we'll probably need to perfect them ongoing. And then third, attending more community meetings and events. We're starting that actually this March. So that's happening immediately, but we know that it's going to take time to get to all 60 of our jurisdictions. So that's going to be an ongoing work. And we'll probably prioritize that, by the way, based on communities that we need to speak with, maybe because it's hazard mitigation adoption. And we know we're going to be there anyway. So, hey, let's do the whole, overview, and or maybe it's something with water, or maybe it's something with workforce, or whatever the case may be. So that's probably how we'll start prioritizing those as places we're going to be anyway. Let's make sure that we explain what all the add is. So that's where we're headed with the strategic plan. It would be a back and front document. And so I leave you with this. How do we measure success? Are we measuring activity, or do we really want to measure impact? And spoiler alert, I want to try to measure impact, which is challenging, right? Because a lot of this is really activity, but we want to get beyond output into outcomes. And so that's where our little exercise starts. So if you haven't done one of these before, this is the moment where if you have a phone, you can get it out. If you don't have a phone, raise your hand and one of our staff will come and be your buddy, and we can take your feedback. You should be able to open your camera app and point it toward the QR code. But if you can't, if it doesn't work, you can go to menti.com, menti.com. If you're joining us remotely, you can do this from your desk also. And if you do it by entering the thing, the web address, then you enter the code. And then Claire, once everybody looks like they're done, we'll go to the next slide. Yes, sir.
I'm having phone issues today. I don't have any service on my phone right now.
Oh, AT&T.
Oh, that's right. AT&T is like out. Is anybody else having that?
It's
Right.
It's all, yeah, it's all gooped up.
Is everybody having?
Yeah.
Apparently it's a Cisco problem.
Do you guys want to use?
We got
do you use the word?
backwards.
You want to take a photo of that?
Yeah, I'll be all right.
Okay, if anybody's thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to use the Wi-Fi, it's right there.
Connect to the NKADD.
Print it out by email.
Oh, do we have to know the answers to this?
Okay, can you go to?
We're ready now?
Yeah, we're ready.
Anybody help you?
Yeah.
That's not it.
Hold on a second. So the first.
It was the year Pat graduated high school.
Oh, my gosh. I didn't-
That's about right.
That's right.
Well, no.
What year? Make sure everybody's good.
But close to it.
Is anybody still having trouble?
Just count the pictures on the wall.
Yeah.
I was just what I was gonna do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get up and go look.
Service working or not?
Okay, we're just gonna pause and make sure that you got everybody.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
That should work.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
He gets started in 1971, which is why it's in the Wi-Fi password.
Oh, I didn't. Should have taken out Wi-Fi.
So you should be able inside the little activity to press next. So if you would indulge me, just type in, you can do it as many times as you want, words that you think describe NKADD today. It could be great place for meetings, just kidding. It could be, bureaucracy, it could be services, it could be a particular thing like workforce or older adults. It could be whatever comes to your mind. And as we finish, a word cloud will develop on the screen. In theory. All right. We've got regional, outreach, infrastructure, grants, assistance. So if it's bigger, that means more than one person put it in there. Aging services, you've got several, outreach, regional in the middle, probably good. Services,
Put chili in
government.
there.
Monthly lunch, dynamic.
That
Awesome. We got 48 responses, so that's pretty good. So thank you. And we'll do 2 more. So go to the next one. So what does success look like? Right? Is it a clean audit? Is it good monitoring? Is it impact? What does it look like to you if the ad is successful?
I think 3/4, that's good.
Efficiency, community understanding. Cool. It's hard. It's not easy. If it was easy, I would have just already drafted it. So we want to have you guys input in it. Funding. Yep. Effectiveness. Cool. Good work. Fulfillment. Okay. Better quality of life. Right. Give you guys healthy neighbors. I like that one. Okay. Lots of communication. Definitely working on it. Great. Thriving neighborhoods. A good one. Partnership. Quality personnel. Absolutely. Okay, got over 42, so we're going to keep going. Thank you very much. This is the last one. English, very fun. What words would you like to see describing the area development district in 3 years from now? When you say, oh, I'm on the board, what do you want somebody to be like, oh, that place is, great. What words would maybe describe that future you talking about your time on the board? Useful, I love it, absolutely. Transformative. Yep. Stronger, recognizable. Yep. Ooh, I like pride. Yeah, having pride in what you do. Supporting local governments, absolutely. Excellent at that, yep. Great. Another 30 seconds, and then I think I'll get you out of here on time. Here. We started 12:01. All right. I hope you enjoyed this little activity. It's very helpful to me and to the rest of the senior staff that are putting together your strategic plan for all of yours and Mark. This concludes my report unless anyone has any other questions. And we'll have more news about the strategic plan next month.
Great update. Any questions for Tara about this or anything else? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mayor, will you second? I'll say. No one's got a second. Judge Moore, Jordan, all the above. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much.
What's going on?
Oh, no, we got. I think it's yours.